You are standing inside a world that no longer exists. Stone walls rise around you, thick and cold, their surfaces marked by centuries of hands, footsteps, and quiet authority. Light enters through tall, narrow windows, softened by thin linen curtains that move almost imperceptibly in the morning air. This is England. Not the England of maps or dates, but a place of weight and texture, of sound and presence. The year is 1527, and this is your day. You are Henry VIII, King of England. The room reveals itself slowly as you turn. A great bed stands at its center, framed in dark carved wood, surrounded by heavy velvet curtains dyed deep red. Gold thread catches the light where the fabric folds. Nothing here exists only for comfort. Everything is meant to be seen, meant to be understood. This chamber is not simply where you sleep, it is where power rests. The air carries the faint scent of wax and old smoke, remnants of candles burned through the night. Somewhere beyond the walls, the palace is already awake. You hear distant footsteps moving along stone corridors. A door closes softly. A voice murmurs, then disappears. You do not rush. Time behaves differently here. It bends around you. As you step forward, the floor beneath your feet feels solid, worn smooth by years of movement. This place has known generations of kings. It knows how to wait, and it is waiting for you. Because the day does not begin when the sun rises. It begins when you do. The chamber doors open, and the palace stretches out before you. Long stone corridors extend in both directions, their ceilings high, their walls holding shadows that shift as light moves across them. You step forward, and the sound of your boots echoes softly, traveling farther than expected. This place amplifies presence. Every movement carries weight. Morning light pours in through tall windows set deep into the stone, casting pale shapes across the floor as clouds drift past outside. It is early enough that the palace is awake but not yet crowded. Servants move quietly along the edges of the halls, careful to remain unnoticed. Their eyes lower as you pass. They do not look at you directly. They do not need to. As you walk, the walls speak in their own way. Tapestries hang at measured intervals, heavy with color and thread, depicting battles, royal unions, and divine favor. You have seen them countless times. They are not meant for you. They are meant for everyone else. A constant reminder, woven into fabric, that power lives here and has always lived here. The corridor widens as you near the heart of the palace. Here, the air feels different. More voices, more movement. Advisors wait near doorways, speaking in low tones that fall silent as soon as you approach. Conversation resumes only after you have passed. You feel it without seeing it, the way space clears, the way posture shifts, the way the palace seems to adjust itself around you. You do not announce yourself, you never have to. Ahead, the doors to the privy chamber stand open. You slow your pace, not out of hesitation, but awareness, because once you step inside, the day truly begins, and the weight of the crown settles more firmly than before. The privy chamber is quieter than the halls outside. Here, the stone walls seem to draw sound inward, softening every movement, every voice. This is a private space, as private as anything can be for a king. You step inside, and the doors close behind you with a dull, solid sound. Attendants are already waiting. They stand in practiced stillness, hands folded, eyes lowered, knowing exactly when they will be needed. Nothing here is improvised. Nothing is accidental. You remove the outer layer of your clothing, and at once the routine begins. A fresh shirt is laid out, white linen, clean and carefully pressed. It is light, almost delicate, a reminder that even power begins with something simple. As the garments are placed upon you, piece by piece, the meaning changes. Hose fitted carefully, doublet adjusted and tightened, fabric pulled into alignment so that nothing appears out of place. Every fold matters, every seam communicates something. Clothing here is not fashion, it is language. Gold embroidery catches the light as you move, announcing status long before words are spoken. The weight increases gradually, settling on your shoulders, across your chest, around your waist. You feel it, not as discomfort, but as presence. Jewelry is brought forward. Rings slide onto your fingers, each one carrying history, alliances, promises made and kept. A chain is placed around your neck, heavy, unmistakable. It rests there as a reminder. You are never unmarked, never unseen. Even alone, you are still the king. An attendant steps closer, adjusting a sleeve, smoothing a crease that no one else would ever notice. This is how carefully you are observed, how closely. When the dressing is complete, there is a moment of stillness, a brief pause before the world is allowed back in. You look at yourself, not in a mirror, but in the way the room responds to you. The silence, the posture of those around you, the subtle shift in the air. The transformation is complete. You are no longer a man preparing for the day. You are the image of the crown itself. And soon, the court will be allowed to see you. The dining chamber feels different from the rest of the palace. Here, the walls are brighter, the windows taller, allowing the morning light to enter more freely. This room is designed to be seen, to be witnessed. A long table stretches through its center, polished smooth, set carefully with linen, wooden plates, and metal cups arranged in precise order. You take your seat at the head of the table. At once, the atmosphere shifts. Others follow, but never before you, never beside you. Distance is maintained instinctively. It has been learned over years. Food is brought forward without ceremony. Fresh bread still warm at its center. Salted meats prepared days earlier, sliced evenly and placed with care. Cheese aged in dark cellars beneath the palace, sharp and firm. A cup is set near your right hand, filled with weak ale. Water is avoided. It always is. As you eat, you do not hurry. This is not a private meal. It is a moment of observation. You notice who waits to begin until you lift your cup, who eats immediately, who pretends not to watch you but does so anyway. A table like this reveals more than a council chamber ever could. Here, ambition shows itself in small ways, in posture, in patience, in restraint. A man who leans too far forward reveals eagerness. One who speaks too quickly reveals insecurity. You say very little. A king does not fill silence. He allows it to do the work for him. As the meal continues, conversations rise softly, carefully controlled, never quite forgetting who sits at the head of the table. By the time the final plates are cleared, you have learned what you needed to know, not from words, but from behavior. And as you rise, the room rises with you, because breakfast is over, and the business of ruling has already begun. The room grows quieter, not because anyone leaves, but because they are waiting. The table has already been prepared before I arrive. Maps lie open across the wood. Ink rests where it should. Nothing here has been placed without intention. I stand at the edge of the table and look down at the land that answers to my name. England does not speak to me. It listens. Every road drawn into the parchment carries weight. Every border hides a memory. Some were shaped by agreement, others by force, most by choices made long before this morning. A letter is placed before me. Its seal is intact, unbroken. Whoever sent it believed the message could wait. I break the seal and begin to read. The words are careful, measured, written to inform, but also to persuade. I read the letter once, then again. I let its meaning settle. This is how power often arrives, not with noise, not with spectacle, but folded into parchment and carried quietly across a table. When my eyes return to the map, I realize the letter has already begun to change it. Lines that once felt fixed now seem uncertain, as if waiting for my hand to decide their future. A decision waits here, not one that demands an answer in this moment, but one that will not remain silent for long. I take the quill and let the ink meet parchment. Each word is chosen carefully, not for how it sounds, but for where it will travel and who will read it. What I write here will move beyond this room, into chambers like this one, to men who will never see my face, yet will feel my presence all the same. Halfway through the line, I stop. Some choices are easy to begin and far harder to finish. The quill rests. The ink darkens as it dries, and I understand something clearly now. This day is no longer about waking. It has turned toward consequence, and it has only just begun.
The chamber does not empty all at once. It releases people slowly, one by one, each carrying a version of what was just decided. I step away from the table and move into the corridor beyond. The air changes here, cooler, quieter, lined with stone that remembers every footstep. These halls were not built for comfort. They were built to endure. As I walk, doors open and close without sound. Servants bow and disappear. Guards shift position, eyes forward, hands steady. No one speaks unless spoken to. They do not need to. My presence has already said enough. Light falls through high windows, cutting the corridor into long bands of gold and shadow. I pass tapestries woven with victories and marriages, with symbols chosen carefully, meant to be understood at a glance. History, simplified. And yet behind each image is a version of events far less clean. A turn in the corridor brings me to a narrower passage. This one is older. The stone here is darker, the ceiling lower. It forces the body to slow. It forces the mind to focus. Here, messages travel faster than footsteps. A servant approaches and stops at a careful distance. He does not look directly at me. He delivers the words exactly as they were given, neither adding nor removing meaning. Another letter waits. Another matter presses for attention. I nod once. That is enough. The servant withdraws, already forgetting my face, remembering only the instruction. I continue forward. The palace moves around me now, quietly adjusting. Plans are shifting. Appointments will be delayed. Conversations will change their tone. All of it begins here, Not in the throne room, not before an audience, but in the corridors between rooms, where power passes without being seen. And as my footsteps echo ahead of me, I understand that nothing I decide today will remain contained within these walls.
The doors open wider here. Sound returns. Footsteps, fabric shifting, voices lowered but never absent. I step into the outer chamber and feel the change immediately. This room breathes differently. It is meant to hold people, to be filled, to be observed. Courtiers line the space in loose order, not arranged by chance, but by rank, by favor, by memory. Some faces lift as I enter, others remain lowered, as if eye contact itself were a risk. I move forward. The path clears without command. Distance forms naturally, measured in instinct rather than rule. This is not the throne room, not yet. This is the space before it, where words are tested before they are spoken aloud. A man steps forward and bows. His movement is precise, rehearsed without looking rehearsed. He begins to speak, not loudly, not quickly. Each phrase is shaped to inform, but also to impress. I listen without reacting. Reaction is a currency best spent carefully. Around us, others wait. They study my face, searching for signals that may not exist. A raised brow, a pause held too long, a glance that lingers. Anything can become meaning here. The man finishes. Silence follows. I let it remain. Silence reminds people where they stand. When I speak, it is brief, measured, enough to be understood, not enough to be interpreted. Relief passes the room in small ways. Shoulders ease, breaths release, but attention does not fade. It sharpens, because now the court knows. The day is moving forward, and they must move with it. The doors close behind me, with a weight that lingers. This room does not welcome, it judges. Light falls from above, filtered through high windows, resting on stone, on banners, on the polished floor. Every step forward is deliberate. The throne waits, raised, centered, impossible to ignore. As I approach, the space rearranges itself. Conversations stop, movement stills. All attention narrows. I take my place. From here, the room feels smaller, not because it is, but because everything in it now points toward me. The throne is not comfortable. It is not meant to be. Its purpose is not rest, but reminder. I settle my hands where they are expected to be, still, visible. Power must be seen to be believed. Before me, the port stands. Some have rehearsed this moment in their minds. Others pretend they have not. Petitions are brought forward. Each one carries a story, trimmed of excess, presented with care. A voice speaks. Another follows. I listen without haste. From this height, faces reveal more than words. Confidence shows itself in stillness, fear in movement. When I respond, it is not with explanation. It is with decision. Short, final. A nod, a gesture. That is enough. Scribes move quickly now, capturing what has just been made real. What was spoken here will travel far beyond these walls. When the last voice falls silent, the room does not relax. It waits. Because authority does not end with a verdict, it continues in presence. And for as long as I remain seated, this room belongs to me.
The throne room empties slowly. Voices fade, footsteps retreat. The doors close, and with them, the weight of watching eyes. I remain seated for a moment longer, not out of ceremony, but out of habit. When I finally rise, the room feels larger again, colder. Power does not follow automatically once the audience is gone. I move through a smaller doorway at the side, one not meant for ceremony. The air changes. Here, the palace exhales. The walls are plainer, the light softer. These rooms do not impress, they contain. I loosen my posture without fully relaxing. Even alone, the body remembers. A table waits near the window. On it, documents already arranged, not urgent enough for the court, too important to ignore. I look out briefly. The city stretches beyond the walls, roofs clustered tightly together. Life continues there, unaware of how close it stands to decisions made today. Inside, silence returns. Not the silence of expectation, but the silence of consequence. I pick up one paper, then set it down again. Some matters demand distance before they demand action. Here, there is no applause, no visible approval, only judgment that arrives later, sometimes years later. I feel the crown's weight more clearly now, not on my head, but in my chest. This is the part of rule no one witnesses, where certainty fades and responsibility sharpens. Soon, I will return. There will be more voices, more demands, more decisions. But for this moment, I stand alone with what has already been set in motion, and I understand something plainly. Power is loud in public. It is far quieter here. The light outside begins to change. It no longer falls directly into the room. It slides along the walls, softer now, less certain. Time has moved forward, whether I wished it to or not. I sit again, not in ceremony, but because the body finally demands it. The papers remain. Some have been answered, others still wait. Each one represents a voice that did not reach me directly. I read more slowly now, not because the words are harder, but because their weight has grown. Decisions made in the morning feel different by late afternoon. What seemed clear then now reveals edges. Consequences that were distant begin to feel close. A servant enters quietly. He sets down a cup and steps back without a word. The warmth rises faintly. I do not drink at once. Even small choices carry meaning after a long day. Beyond the window, bells mark the passing hour. The city responds in its own way. Shadows lengthen, work ends, others begin. Here, it does not. Rule does not follow the sun. I set the cup aside and stand. The body resists, but it obeys. There is still one more duty before the day can close. Not one written on parchment, one carried within. I draw a slow breath, the kind taken not for calm, but for endurance, because tomorrow has already begun forming, and it will ask for just as much. Night settles without announcement. The palace grows quieter, not suddenly, but in layers. I move through the last corridors of the day, Torches replace daylight, their flames unsteady, casting shadows that stretch and retreat along the walls. These halls feel different at night, less watchful, more honest. The rooms ahead are familiar now, not because they are comfortable, but because they mark the end. I remove what remains of the day. Heavy fabric, symbols meant for others. What stays with me cannot be set aside so easily. I sit alone for a moment longer. No maps, no letters, only the memory of what was decided. Outside, the city rests. Inside these walls, guards change, torches are trimmed, the kingdom exhales. I lie back and let the silence return. Not the silence of waiting, the silence of continuation. Tomorrow will bring new voices, new requests, new choices shaped by today's. But for now, the weight eases just enough. Sleep does not erase responsibility, it only pauses it. And as darkness settles fully around me, I understand this truth clearly. A crown is never removed. It is only carried from one day into the next.